Hello, my name is Frances Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. All of my psychic abilities have been trained and followed and watched, checked out statistically to ensure that my accuracy rate is high enough to be used in important things. So I chose in this incarnation a very difficult life, but I chose it for a reason. And that was to be positioned to learn as much as you can learn on this planet having to do with the other dimensions, how to acquire information, and how to automatically classify it as what's most important, second important, etc. And as I told you yesterday, when I was asked questions by scientists and military when I was a child, young, and older, to bring back the answer to the question that should have been asked. And I apply that for the people that I work for. I rarely work for a company. I work for people, families that own big businesses, or people that have medium or small businesses or individuals. Companies have a whole hierarchy of people that supervise, and my rate of accuracy and how much I can help is not in question. It's the whole issue of, is this real? This has to be fraud. This has to be charlatanism. So it's not, certainly not a comfortable place to be, and it's not the kind of place that I would even try to position myself. That's hitting me at a baseline. Is this even valid? Excuse me. You're the one that's not valid. You're the one that's not updated. And you're the one that doesn't know what the people in power do behind the scenes. So you know what? I don't want to be here. The people that are the most psychic are generally lower class people, poor people, people that have lived with a lot of danger, mothers, and very wealthy people. None of those groups of people allow anybody to get in their way when they need some information. It's their livelihood, it's their life, it's their child that depends on it. So, anyway, we don't need to get into any of those extremes. We're here today, hopefully, under much better circumstances, most of you. Yet, as I was putting on my makeup, and I'm not good at it, and I'm sure that one makeup class would make a big difference, but that's not a priority for me. I noticed again that I have the wrinkles here in my left eye. And many of you will know the story. Many years ago, I woke up and I had this big wrinkle there. And I was like, oh my God, this aging process is really overnight. It's not possible. And then 3 or 4 days later, it went away. And when I looked up what energies could accumulate in the left eye that would have caused this, it's the energy of shock. And then after that, years later, I found out that your left eye is associated with the left eye of Horus, Egyptian mythology. Remember mythology that we have to learn, but it didn't really happen. It doesn't exist. Well, why do we have to learn it? Just learn it anyway. Don't worry your silly little head about that. Just learn it anyway. Left eye of Horus corresponds to your spirit body, which is your spirit, which is your astral body, which is your emotional body. So obviously I was in a state of shock, and that is true because that was when I started to do my memory retrieval work having to do with my childhood, and not just my childhood, having to do with being a victim of mind control. So I learned that. Now when I'm putting on makeup, I have more in my right eye here. See those? What's the right eye correspond to? It corresponds to physical danger. Now, am I going to tell you what this is about in my life today? No, I can't. But it was shocking to see it, but I know exactly what it's about. So, why am I telling you this? Because we are in a place of danger in the planet. And everybody needs to be very awake and aware. And you also need to be awake and aware about your family. You need to have an awareness of what's going on with your kids. If you're sitting across the breakfast table from them, and they probably will not have a wrinkle in their left or right eye, but that eye will be limping. It will be smaller. It will be more closed. It won't look the same as the right eye. And I'm checking now to see. And yes, this eye is, I don't know if you could say substantially, but it's smaller than this eye. And you look at your kid and you notice what's going on with the eye. Nothing. What's going on with you? Nothing. Something is going on, and you need to ask more questions. You need to watch, or you could automatically go into a mantra. If it's this eye, even though we are afraid, I love and accept myself, which is the mantra that I just did an hour of. And that is still there. It's better than it was before. When there was a bottoming out of the housing market in Miami, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years ago, I'm a psychic, so time is like really elastic and plastic, which shouldn't be, but it is. And I remember I would walk down the street or go someplace, and I noticed a lot of people's right eye was limping. It's like, well, that's why. This is new. This has to do with physical danger, physical safety, safety of the bank accounts, all those those loans that were collapsing, etc. It was a lot of people with a very limping right eye. So when you see somebody across the dinner table at home, or you're having a meeting and you see one of those two things, you already have a nice piece of information on that person. And if you don't really know the person, but you feel bad for them, you can do the mantra silently. And both of them have to do with fear. Fear on the physical dimension. Something could actually happen physically. Emotionally afraid. Even though at this time I should have also been even more physically afraid, but maybe I wasn't even aware of it. We don't need to go into the specifics. Your body is a map. There's a very famous healer called Carolyn Myss, Myss. She's still around. She's very good. And she has a quote, which is, your biology, your body is your biography. And that's true. Whatever you have happening to you that's bad, mainly bad, because the good kind of flows. And it's the bad where you go like this and then it kind of registers. Your biology is your biography. So certain parts of the body, when you see somebody who's like this, the shoulders, they're not just like this, they're hunched like that. They're protecting their heart chakra. So when you see your kids do that, or you see an older person do that, and this is usually not temporary. This is like, this will go away, this will go away. This is many years of protecting the heart, protecting the heart, protecting the heart. There's a new thing now because of an addiction to computers and electronics, cell phones, and that's this. I noticed a couple years ago when it was graduation time that I was looking at graduation pictures, and a nice percentage of the kids in the pictures were standing there, cap and gown, and their hands were clenched at their sides, and they were clenched. Not necessarily clenched, but closed. And I already knew. And when you see somebody who does this and they hold their hands behind their back, they're not hiding anything, but they are totally radiated. They're electro addicted. What's going on? When you have a lot of radiation, those bad spirits enter the throat chakra. The outside of your hands and arms are controlled by your throat chakra. And the inside of your hands and arms are controlled by your heart chakra. When those spirits come in, they close your heart down, and they do it like that from here. So look at yourself. A lot of times you have your hands clenched, you're electro addicted. Being electro addicted is okay, except there's consequences. And the consequence is not just that your heart gets closed down, your personality changes. You're no longer as human. You become part of the problem. And you didn't know that you cannot have that frequency at that rate that you're getting it because it's going to change you. That's why our sensory therapy videos are so important because and I was going to say coincidentally, it is not a coincidence. I sacrifice myself incredibly in order to get this information. It's not a coincidence. It's my intention to help people. And I never thought that I would be able to find something that could actually help people having to do with the electro addiction. How do you correct that? You know that you can't confront people that are addicted to anything, much less their cell phone. It was on X the other day, there was a video of a home that was totally trashed by a 12-year-old kid whose mother took away his cell phone. He went completely crazy. Well, if you have that much of an addiction, you have spirits that are controlling you. And it is an addiction. And you're going to react like it's an addiction, like, I have to have that. Because the spirits that are connected already to you, influencing you, need for you to have that. If not, they're gone. So I actually think, I'm not even sure that I had an intention to find something that would help to correct that because I didn't think that there would be anything that would correct that. But there is, because Wi-Fi and 5G is a frequency. Okay. You can't stop the frequency. Wi-Fi is what is used to get images from Afghanistan or from the space shots that Elon Musk puts up. Wi-Fi is what gets that to your cell phone, to your computer, to your TV. Nothing stops it. It will go through anything. You're in a building, it's going to still get to your cell phone or your television set. Nothing stops it. But it turns out that you can balance it out and wipe out a lot of its effect with a frequency that heals that, which is the frequency of trilling. And I will write it here on the chat, which is the sound of birds chirping, which is why I had a fit when Elon Musk took off the little bird and substituted it with an X. And I can understand him doing that. He needed to cut with the previous flow of energies into something totally new. But I love that little bird. So trilling is a sound that can offset. Trilling is a frequency that can offset the Wi-Fi frequency and the 5G frequency. So what do? You can't get birds in your house 24 hours a day. You can put our sensory therapy videos on, which the music is composed by Mateo Cuaron, and I keep saying his name because the truth of the matter is that the man puts out sacred music. At least with us, he puts out sacred music. And a lot of us, including me, sleep with it on all night. Because other than that, I would have to get up and turn off the Wi-Fi in my home, which is a pain in the neck because it's downstairs and I'm up, my bedroom's upstairs. And I would forget half the time. And then I'd wake up and feel, because I'm Cancer, so we're very high in guilt. You know what I just did? I went, oh my God, am I in the right chat? I'm disoriented? I'm not disoriented. I think I'm overwhelmed. I think I've never had both eyes have wrinkles due to stress. That's how the stress is. Lots of stuff going on politically. People like me we always have a rope around our neck, having to do with the government, having to do with secret things. It's terrible. Then you have all the natural catastrophes. And then you have all the unhappy people. And then you have all the revelations. Isn't it good we're finding out all these things about all these people? But we're going to collapse. So it's a lot. Anyway, I'm not trying for anybody to feel sorry for me. I'm a Cancer, by the way. We're complainers. Oh my God, we're complainers. I'll try to modify that. So You put on the trilling, and I put it on here all the time. Most of the time, when I put on the sensory therapy music for the peace mantra, it's the trilling music. We have two versions of it because I didn't think it had enough birds in it, bird chirping. So Mateo did a second one, and it has a lot of birds chirping. And I didn't have the nerve to say, this is a little bit too much because I had already complained about the first one. Remember cancer complaining? Okay. So when you see somebody clench fists, okay, sometimes it's only one, it's usually both of them. And go back to the photographs that you have if you went to any graduations and look at all the kids there and see how many of them have that. You will not have seen that 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It didn't happen. It didn't exist. With somebody with a closed heart, because emotionally they need to protect themselves, you get the hunch over shoulders when it's years, or you get them sleeping like this. And then the next morning they're open up again. Not with this. They did not decide to protect themselves. They have spirits determining the positioning of their hands, and it is not good. I don't know what it is that the people in power are doing. When I see people in power and the artists and everything on their boats and on beaches, I go, thank God. And I believe that one of the reasons why Trump has not completely collapsed, given up, or turned into a complete animal is because he plays golf. Well, where do you play golf? Outside, in nature, because nature has frequencies. And the frequency of nature overcomes and balances out the frequency of Wi-Fi. Please, God, do not let Trump ever give up golf because he would be a different person. As it is, he has too much fire, very fiery. He needs even more earth. So he should probably have our sensory therapy videos inside his mansions, and everybody would feel better. They may not notice it, but they will feel better. They will be better in the other dimensions where the reality of your physical body is created, where your diseases start and where it's easier to take care of the disease because that's where it was created, in the other dimensions. So the frequencies, I guess, reach all of those dimensions. These sensory video therapy sensory therapy videos that we have are on both my, they're supposed to be up on both my YouTube channels, the English and the Spanish. We have some issues with the English. Somebody does not want us to reach the Anglo public. So all sorts of weird things happen, such as we have more likes than we have views consistently, like every day. We have to be patient with all of that, because if not, wrinkle here, wrinkle there. We already have this. Yeah, we have this. Come on. Your biology is your biography. Okay. So what is the subtitle of today's chat is, what can we learn from the tsunami of 2004? And I did put up, and I'm putting it up again, this link has the complete article that the Dolphins gave me, and I think it was December 2004. I think it was December 31st, 2000, when I wrote it, but it was given to me by the Dolphins. And there's a few paragraphs in there that you might not find that interesting. It's long, but wow. The earthquake that caused the tsunami, because the earthquake was underwater in the ocean, and it moved so much that it created a tsunami. According to that article, and I have no reason not to believe it because the Dolphins have been so accurate, had to do with Mother Earth couldn't take any more evil. It couldn't. It needed to have a release, and it did. But then we go to what we did yesterday here on this same chat. And we see this is coming from the center of the earth, from Mother Earth. And this is that red center of the earth that I said several years ago was starting to move. It was looking for an outlet. I think it had been relatively stable, for centuries? I don't really know. And it was moving. And it wasn't moving like a sphere, it was moving with points. And 2 weeks ago, and I actually think that maybe, well, I don't have it today, I had the sketch the first time that I sketched this movement was in May, and we're in July. So this is our ET attacks. I was just on X, and Grouch, Grauch, that ex-military that is talking a lot about the aliens, who's really honestly a wonderful soul. He was being interviewed by Tucker, and I believe that Tucker said, "Excuse me, did you just say that the bad ETs are attacking?" That's Venezuela. That's a big attack in the north part of Venezuela. And the words that I put there were energy that allows for catastrophes. This was the 7th of July. This was last night. And then at the end, when I had already sketched this and I was sharing it with all of you, I said, not good. I'm seeing this spiraling of fire from the center of the earth that was coming up. So we seem to be scheduled and on our way to a lot of natural catastrophes. And then I have to remind you again that the future is elastic and plastic. Prophecy is to tell you that the road that you are on, not where you're going to end up, but where you're going to end up if you stay on that road. And the planet is dividing in two because there's two incredibly different vibrations. And one is on the process of ascension, which is getting registered in the human resonance. It's kind of neat. I haven't been able to understand it completely. I don't think anybody does, but I would like to understand a little bit more. It's really neat. And then you have the group that's falling into the chaos and the hatred and the violence and the victimization, etc. We are in an interesting place in history, and we're not just supposed to be victimized by what's going on. We are supposed to be reaching for the power that has always been denied us by galactic beings and by the people that apparently control our governments or control the people that are our governments. We have superpowers. They have played out several times in planetary history. We call those times mythological times or mythological stories. Again, repeating, science found that we have eye cells in the center of the forehead, and they said we humans may have had an eye in the center of the forehead before. Well, why did it go away? Because the superpowers have been beaten down, hidden from us. People say they put fluoride in the toothpaste because that dries up the pineal gland. And there's a lot of foods that dull it. And then there's the parents that when the kid says, I see something, a spirit, or I see this, or I can move that, the parents say that's not true because really, obviously, that couldn't be true because, I mean, come on. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? It's interesting. With my kids have struggled with my history, obviously. And so I have had to piecemeal give them pieces of information. And I think because of all the news that is saying what I said 30 years ago, and of course I was crazy, and what's the matter with you? You don't have anything better to do. Or why don't you get a hobby? And lately I said, you know what? All that stuff I told you, I could tell you a lot more right now, but you're not ready for it now either. You weren't ready then. You had to have somebody else or the whole world say it, and then you could take it. Now I'm going to tell you this new stuff, which is really not new. And you're going to go, Mom, please. Now you really lost it. Well, you told me that 30 years ago I lost it. And now you tell the story like, oh, look what was unreal. And yeah, oh, hey, Mom, you were right. Yeah, I was right, wasn't I? Not easy being ahead of the crowd, especially in things that are so important. So, was that a complaint? Probably. You need to know people's astrological signs because you'll be able to understand them better. And then you'll be able to understand why you can't stand somebody sometimes or why you think they're so adorable because you're compatible with those signs. It helps. It really does help. It really helps a lot. It's not fair, especially when children are not compatible with their parents, because the parents will find things that the kids do as like, what's the matter with him? Why is he doing that? Why does he keep doing that again and again and again? Because he's a Taurus or he's an earth sign. Why can't he sit down? Like one mother told me decades ago, something the matter with my kid. I said, oh yeah, your kid was so much better. No, listen, my kid, something the matter. She takes out a toy, a box, and she starts to play with it. 3 minutes later, she leaves it there and she gets something different. And then 5 minutes later, she doesn't want to do that either. She walks away and she wants to do this other thing, or she wants to go to the park. What's the matter with her? I mean, obviously there's something the matter with her. No, she's a Gemini, actually. Nothing the matter with her. So you should chart your family, what signs they are, what elements they are, and then you might go, oh, you know the story. I was married to a Capricorn, 22 years. He has passed. We separated, he remarried, everything was fine. Actually, because we were both female signs and we understood each other, which is one of the reasons why it's nice to be compatible. Okay, so before I knew about astrology, because I was never trained in astrology, everything that I was trained in was the mind. Astrology is kind of like a science, and you have to learn how to do these charts, which I don't do. I do it just psychically. So I used to say that my husband was emotionally abusive because he was an earth sign and they're pretty tough. And I'm a little complaining water sign. And then when I learned about astrology, I stopped saying that my husband was emotionally abusive because he wasn't. He was just very Capricorn. See how simple? A piece of information. So, like I said the other day, gossip, psychic gossip, Biden sniffing people's hair and going like this. Okay, he may have a problem. I'm not going to say he doesn't. I'm not a Biden fan. But he's a Scorpio. And Scorpios are sensual. 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 Okay, let's get into the healing part of this. This was the information part. I think I covered the gossip. I covered the news. I gave you the link. Please look at the article. In the beginning, it's in Spanish. You go all the way to the bottom and it's in English. It is long. There's pieces you may not like or you may not find interesting. I have to go back and see maybe if I need to eliminate. So that was written 20 years ago, but you need to read it. It's very interesting. And you don't have to do anything. You just read it and you just go, The most important thing I can tell you today, now thinking about the article, and I have not reread it lately, it made me aware and talks about the importance of images in creating reality and how images of violence will create societies full of violence. Here we go with the little computer, the little electronic games, and with everything that we watch, too significant a percentage of it is violent. And that creates an addiction to violent images. And according to that article, and I believe it because I've learned it other places and I have seen it, if within your mind you have an overabundance of negative images, you're going to be drawing to you, because of the law of attraction, a lot of negativity. So read the article. Okay? Okay. So let's go ahead and we're going to do the peace mantra, and we're going to do the trilling music. And maybe while you're doing that, I'll run to my YouTube and I'll get you the link to it. And we do have it 8 hours long so that you can sleep with it. You can have it all day long. If you have employees, it's very good for settling everybody. And then we have, of course, the Medusa music. We have 8 hours with a map of the entire world on it, and you can play it for 8 hours. And for 8 hours, you will be transferring the energy of love and Venus to the entire planet. Isn't that a neat thing? All by your itty bitty self? That's power. That's power. Okay. Last night, I was going to go ahead and put on my usual trilling music, and I couldn't get to it. Every time I would click to move to another part of my music selection, it stayed with the Medusa music. That's not what I wanted. I have to tell you that for a while I couldn't even listen to it. I was so far away from that vibration of love and Venus. It was irritating to me. Irritating to me. But I was like, if I've tried 4 times to get away from this and I can't, it's because I need it. So I left it on. And today I was able to listen to it very nicely. I didn't react to it. We have other music that is very much also for counteracting the frequency of all the electronics, and it has a sound in it of ding. I think I'm on the computer too much, because when I hear that ding, it's like and yet that ding is exactly what is needed to break up the frequency of Wi-Fi. So your reaction to the music is also an analysis of what's going on with you. Okay, so let me get. Yeah, when I do this, it's not going to make the wrinkle go away, but at least it makes me feel better. Okay, here we go. Here's the mantra. The mantras are repeated in silence, and you expel the words through your mouth, and you relax. Both feet on the floor if you can. Here it is, and I am going to get the music for you, the trilling music. We're going to do 10 minutes. And I'm going to do the one that has too many birds, in my opinion. It's still nice. Okay? Okay. I put here on the side the link to the Medusas. I think it's 8 hours and it has the map of the world underneath it. So you'll be giving the world a healing for 8 hours and yourself also. And then the trilling one that I think is 8 or 10 hours. And then the link to the article. I think you need to read the article. Okay. Okay. And I think that's it. Today is Friday, so we won't see you till Monday unless there's something god awful. But this is how you looked when you came in, which is even more depressed than yesterday. The mind streams are not supposed to do that. Remember, if you're listening in podcasts, the link to the video in YouTube is right next to it, so you can look at the images. And then after having your therapy session, the mantra therapy session plus sensory therapy music session, this is how you look. Here's the trick. This is galactic attacks, even stronger than yesterday and more penetrating. And they're coming in through the left, which is where we have this big portal to the galactic. You do not have the third eye open because you really don't want to see more. It's overwhelming. Look at what's going on with my eyes. And the mouth is clenched. You do have the three. Your mind streams are now Nile green. They are not, they're in totally opposite direction. This is good. This shows depression before you had your therapy, your mantra session. And then you have a lot more red coming in from Mother Earth. And the spiraling I very specifically noticed is clockwise, which means going up. So whatever's in the middle of the earth is coming up. Earthquakes or volcanoes are an incredible potential. So whenever something happens, the first thing you do is you have to process it, talking with your people, whatever, do whatever it is you have to do. And then you go into a mantra so that your mind does not become part of the problem, so that you don't continue to energize the negativity that just happened. You start to rebuild yourself, collect yourself, and then make sure that you also do an intention mantra so that you go into the creative process of creating something positive. You don't just deprogram the negativity. You need to get into the creation. And you can't do that if you spend all your time reliving those images on your cell phone or on your computer. Even if it's on X, which I absolutely love, doesn't matter. You need to learn to monitor the images that you're taking in because it is the way the creation of reality is initiated. Okay? We will see you then in our next chat. Bye.